Congressional Democrats are also reacting to the Attorney General's moves. Joining me now, Maryland Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin, who sits on the House Judiciary Committee, which is scheduled to hear from Attorney General Barr on March 31st. Congressman, good to see you again. Thank you for being with us. I want to just get right to this March 31st. What do you believe you might get out of the Attorney General? What are you hoping to get? If it was a really good day, what does success look like in an interview by the Judiciary Committee of the Attorney General in this circumstance?
Well, we want to know why there's this onslaught against all of the president's perceived political opponents taking place and why they want to reopen all of these cases and revisit the work of the career prosecutors. Attorney General Barr himself blew up at the president, saying that the president's tweets were making it impossible for him to do his job. But his job, of course, is defined basically as doing the president's bidding. So basically what he's saying is, Mr. President, I'm your sycophant. I'm going to go after all of your
You don't actually have to tweet and tell me what to do. I know what to do.
Yeah, it just blows the cover. It kind of gives the game away to the rest of the country. But this is really an outrageous interference with centuries of understanding of criminal law enforcement in America. We have always understood the prosecutorial function to be independent of the political agenda.
So let me just address it. This is really interesting because on another network somewhere else around here, they talk about the fact that the Department of Justice is a branch of the executive, the president's part of the government. And the president continues to talk about how this isn't illegal. And Barr talks about how it isn't illegal. And as Ken Delaney pointed out, it's not a matter of illegal. It's just that the Attorney General doesn't get involved in the hundreds of cases, thousands of cases that go on. So why the ones that affect the president or the president tweets about? There's something about convention that is wrong here. There's something that feels wrong about it. Is there something that you have identified as legally wrong? The president tweeted, this doesn't mean I do not have as president the legal right to do so. I do, but I've so far chosen not to. Is he right or is he wrong?
He's wrong. Look, the president's job under Article 2 of the Constitution is to take care that the laws are faithfully executed. Those laws are written by Congress, and all of those laws insist upon the neutral and impartial administration of the laws, free of political interference and bias. So the president seems to be saying, both in this encounter and in the Ukraine episode and so on, that because he sits on top of the executive branch, he can rewrite all of the laws in his own favor to advance his political agenda. And it's completely intolerable and unacceptable. We impeached him for it. He's an impeached and disgraced president. I know that the Republicans in the Senate did not behave like impartial jurors. They behaved like members of a religious cult. But we have to continue to uphold what the real rule of law is in America so people don't forget.
Let me ask you this, Congressman. What do you make of this whole Michael Flynn thing? The idea that that Barr has now seemed to have cherry-picked some prosecutors from around the country to take as a sort of what he's deeming an outside look at Michael Flynn's guilty plea after he lied to the FBI.
I think that's scandalous, too. I mean, you got to rewind the clock to before the Trump administration to remember when there was a time when everybody across the aisle, across the political spectrum, thought it would be outrageous for the president of the United States to try to interfere in an individual criminal prosecution or trial in order to fix the outcome, in order to gerrymander the results. And yet, just this last week now, we've seen the administration interfering to throw out the sentencing recommendations of 4 career prosecutors who said, we think that Stone should be sentenced for 7 to 9 years for lying to Congress and obstructing a governmental investigation. And yet the president and the attorney general then get involved, and those 4 prosecutors end up withdrawing from the case, and one of them ends up resigning in protest and disgust at the situation. I mean, this is a naked violation of the rule of law and what we understand the proper role of justice is and the proper role of the president is, which is always to stay a million miles away from individual criminal prosecutions.
Does the propriety of it matter in a country where people couldn't convince Republicans to look at the evidence in an actual impeachment wrongdoing case? I mean, I hear you loud and clear about it's improper, but does improper matter to a whole lot of people?
Well, it's got to matter. I mean, we have to stand up every time now because, look, if the president can essentially operate with impunity and immunity, and we know that his personality is lawless and ungovernable and incorrigible, but if we have an executive branch that goes along with him and a Republican Party that goes along with them and a Senate that goes along with them, the rest of us can't just go along with him, too. We have to blow the whistle and say, that's not how we do justice in the United States of America. The line prosecutors are the ones who run the case. And, of course, they have to follow their superiors when it comes to actual Department of Justice policy, but this has nothing to do with policy.
Right.
This is to do with the political preferences and the friendships of a corrupt president.
Congressman, good to see you. Thank you for joining me. Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland is a member of the Judiciary